Thank you all so much for joining us. So we are here at the Black Footwear Forum, so it's only right that we start off a question about kicks. We all have a deep appreciation for footwear, as I can see. Nice. What is the most iconic sneaker you have or wish you had in your personal vaults? We'll start with Janae.
I'm partial to my Jackie Robinsons that I have on right now, but earlier this year I was recognized as Employee of the Month from the Pistons, and they gifted me a custom pair of sneakers. One was painted everything from my hometown, Bay City, Michigan, and then the other one was everything of my story of being here in Detroit. I'm a transplant of 6 years, and so that was a really cool, special gift. So I love my custom Piston sneakers of my story.
Okay, amazing. Jared?
I'm a big sneaker enthusiast, and over the years, I've developed some cool relationships. And when Kanye did his Red Octobers, I got gifted them by somebody, and I've worn them a few times. I'm not one of them guys that don't wear the kicks and keep them locked up. So probably the Red Octobers.
Yeah, I'm sick about that one. Okay, Melanie.
So I have a lot of shoes, given where I came from, but on my way here to Detroit, I was gifted a pair of the AJ3 Slim Shadys that Eminem wore at the Super Bowl. So I love those.
Okay.
And I was intentional about what I wore today. So these I think are iconic. These are the Amama Near 4s from the While You Were Sleeping collection, and for me, a grail because of what James Whitner, who many of you know and I'll get to hear from, has done and means for our community.
Amazing. Yeah, he is doing amazing work. His storytelling is like amazing. Anytime a shoe comes out, if you guys remember the strawberry milks that came with like the little coin purse, like the storytelling is unmatched, and I love what he's doing. For me, I really need these Melody Ehsani Fearless shoes, so if anybody got the hookup, please let me know, because I did not get those shoes. They're definitely something I wish I could have. All right, so let's give the audience a very high-level, real-type timing on your version of your journey from the current role, and start with the sport that started it all for you. So we'll start with Jarrett.
Well, for me, all of my coaches always told me I was gonna coach. And I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. You know what I'm saying? We'll get to that. And then when it got to the point, it was the end of my career, and I'm sitting like, should I play one more year? Should I not? And then my agent called and said, man, Phoenix called. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm trying to hoop. They're like, nah, about you coaching. I'm like, all right. I'm like, all right. And crazy enough, my first couple days when I got there, I hated it. I'm like, man, all these meetings, and man, it's not that complex. You don't gotta do all they doing it for show. And then once I got locked into it, and the guys start coming in, and the way you get to counsel them and kind of help these young men kind of find their pathway through this juggernaut of what a professional athlete is, juggling so many different things. I mean, that was the part, I've since fallen in love with it. But try to keep it together because it's like super personal. Like nothing will ever replace playing for me, but this love that I have with these youngsters, it's just different, man. It touches you in a different way. You got guys I remember there was one kid that was hurt and he was trying to get back on the court. And I was a big part of his rehab process. And he was just like, man, coach, man, thank you, man. I didn't think I was gonna be able to get back. You helped me and all that other stuff. So just being able to immerse yourself into somebody else, I think that's probably like the biggest thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, if any of you know any athletes that have participated at and played at the highest level, the journey between being a player and being whatever else it is that you're going to do for the rest of your life is a hard thing, and a lot of us athletes don't talk about it, so thank you, Jarrett, for your transparency.
No problem.
And Melanie, tell us about your journey, because it's different.
It's been a long one. I want to build off of what you said, because one of the most critical people in my life journey outside of my parents and my grandparents is my high school coach. And the role that coaches play in our lives as young people and then as adults, it's timeless. I will always appreciate Coach Cap and what he has meant for me through my entire life. He's actually retiring this year. I hope to be back to that. So I grew up in sports my entire life. My family's from the Caribbean, so the very first thing I played was cricket, honestly, cricket,
Okay.
and soccer. But middle school and high school and college was track and field for me. So I grew up with a dad, brothers, my husband, all played basketball. But my sport was track and field, and in particular in college, I was a heavyweight thrower. I threw the hammer and the 20-pound weights. I still have my school record. I set conference records as well. So it was, I go back to my track and field coach, Coach Cap, Andy Capion, because he, from the time I was very young, told me I could do anything. And that anything meant, you mentioned, I was born in the Bronx, New York, went to public school my whole life, and he's the one who told me that I can go to Yale. My parents, and I didn't come from that kind of background, and great parenting, great all of that, not to discredit, but I was the first one in my family to do something like that, and continued to tell me that if I worked hard and pushed myself, I could do more, and that not only can I do more for myself, but I could do more for others, encouraging them to believe that someone who looks like them, who comes from where they came from, could do something that may be unexpected. So that was the early part of my journey, and then I did not play professionally like you all. One of those things is that if you compete in track and field, especially in the field events, it's not a great way to pay your bills. And so I left college. I worked in retail, which is a job that I'd had in high school. I worked on the retail floor. And I went and did store operations at Abercrombie & Fitch. And then I went from there to make product. I made men's sportswear at Macy's, their private label sportswear apparel. I had a mentor there who encouraged me to apply to business school, which I did, as Misty mentioned. I went to Harvard Business School, and there I took a detour because I discovered strategy consulting. And I realized something that I loved about life, which I also learned from sports, is I love problem solving. I love identifying an opportunity and going after it, which you do every day on the field of play or in life, essentially. And so I got to do that for a living with a company called Bain & Company for about a decade. I was the first Black woman promoted to partner at the firm. And from there, I got a call from Nike to come lead global strategy for Nike Inc. And so I did that for a few years. It was a good combination of the things that I had loved growing up: sports, product, consumer, marketing, and strategic problem solving. So I did that for a few years, and then until recently, I was the general manager of Jordan Brand in North America. And so I went from strategy at Nike Inc. across the globe and across the 3 brands to leading Jordan Brand in North America. And I would say every role along the way has been a dream, and this role that I'm entering now is indeed the dream of all dreams, getting to lead the business side of the Pistons, which I'm so pleased to be up here representing with this group. So that has been my journey. It started with sport, it continued with sport, and I believe throughout my career it will end with sport in some way.
Amazing, thank you. All right, Janae, tell us about your journey.
So I played soccer all throughout growing up. Once I got to high school, it was track and field for me. I was a pole vaulter. But then when I was in high school, I found another love: student council, theater, forensics, speech and debate. And that is what I gravitated towards in high school. So when I came to college at Wayne State University, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I went to business school at Wayne State, and in my sophomore year, I was able to secure an internship in the human resources department. So I thought I was gonna work in HR. So I did a year with HR at the Pistons. That turned into becoming the assistant equipment manager. So I went from business side, hopped over to basketball, and I was the assistant equipment manager for about 2 years. I was the 3rd woman to be an assistant equipment manager in the league's history, youngest woman to do so. Thank you. in our league's history, we have yet to see a head female equipment manager, so I'm excited to see that day come. But I was working, going to school full-time, traveling full-time with our NBA team. So once I finally graduated from college in 2022, I was able to transition into player and family engagement, which is a specialized new upcoming field in the league and across the sports industry. And I recently stepped into the position of manager of our player and family engagement.
Amazing. We have some incredible people, don't we? Incredible, incredible. So you guys all have fantastic origin stories. When did you all realize you wanted to do more than play sports and pursue a career in the sports industry? So Jarrett, you've already kind of dove into this. Melanie, let's start with you.
Yeah, well, I mentioned, there was a glimmer of hope that I had that I was going to go to the Olympics. And so I said, well, maybe I should keep training. But it wasn't, I'll say a couple of things. I was good, but I wasn't that good. It wasn't going to be a surefire thing. And so it was going to be about taking a risk. And I've taken a lot of risks on myself, but that was one where I wasn't ready to take the financial risk. So it was a really clear decision for me when I left college that I wouldn't continue to compete in sport or have that to be my main life. But I knew I always wanted to be around it. So even when I went to Abercrombie, I moved to Ohio, I was like the hang around at the Ohio State track trying to still work out. Okay. Okay, anyone else? And I've always just found that even if I wasn't going to have sport as my career as a competitor, I always wanted it in my life. Because of the values that I believe sport brings to everyone and the the benefit it has given me as a professional. So some of those are the ability to overcome, whether it's exhaustion, injury, a loss. Those are things that I value and I got from sport. That competitive nature, that teaming, holding yourself accountable, holding your team members accountable, and relying on each other. So. Long way of saying, it was the money that told me I couldn't do it, but it was a passion that told me I had to always have sport as some part of my life.
Amazing. And what about you, Janae?
So when I was at Wayne State, I really just needed a job. I wish it was more inspirational. I was paying my way through college. Yeah. I was working 2 jobs. One of them was for the Red Wings. I'm from Bay City, which is right on Lake Huron, 2 hours north of here, and so hockey, I was like, great, this is awesome. It wasn't until I got the internship with the Pistons, though, that I fell in love with the space of sports. I really think we have a unique opportunity of using our jobs as a vehicle for culture, for community impact, for family engagement. So that's what's kept me and made me fall in love with the sports industry.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think about my personal journey, and I always felt like when I retired, like, see ya, I'm done. No more sports, I'm gonna go explore another horizon. And y'all, I'm telling you, it just sucked me back in. It was like, no, we're not done with you yet. And so, when I retired, I was actually working at Chase Bank. Anybody ever here worked at a bank? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I was working at Chase Bank thinking I was going to become a broker at one point, and Nike ended up calling me like 3 months into that job, you guys, and I was like, at first, mind you, we'll go into a little bit of how I felt retiring because where I was, y'all, mentally was not in a good place. I was working at a bank and I was already feeling like, oh God, this is it. This is new life for me. No one cares. And then they called me from Nike and I was like, great. Now you want me to work in retail. Like, how much worse can this get? And they're like, no, this is at headquarters. And I was like, what, me? So like, yeah, I tried to escape sport, but sport did not try to escape me. So I'm here for good. So I do want to come back to you on transferable skills. Being an athlete, a lot of time, our transferable skills as an athlete is not valued or appreciated and sometimes not respected. It's always you need to go get some experience, right? Which means in athletes' ears, it means start all over, start at ground zero, which is a very big, tough pill to swallow, right? Could you talk about the benefits of what you've experienced or witnessed during your time as a professional?
Yeah, you know, I'll say it's hard for me to hire someone who has not been an athlete.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. It doesn't mean that you have to have competed at the highest level like you all have, but I started to talk about it. The things that one learns as an athlete are immeasurable. I'd take an athlete or a vet, a military vet, any day over someone who's been in a classroom all the way. And it doesn't, not to discredit education, I highly value education as well, but the life skills that you learn around bobbing and weaving, like seeing around corners, perseverance, I mentioned teaming, like that's what you want at every level throughout an organization. And I've worked with people who have not been engaged in sport, whether, you know, even if you didn't play Little League, something, it's not everyone, but there's more of a tendency to be self-centered, to give up, to get down on oneself when there's a loss, because you have losses in business the same way that you do on sports. And so I think so many skills are transferable just in terms of how you approach life, right? And I say this, a couple things I say all the time to my kids or to my colleagues. The only thing you can do better than anyone else is to be yourself.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
And who you become as a person, as an athlete, is something that is transferable to anything that you do. And then you can think about the specific capabilities and skill sets, but those things are easier to learn.
Yeah,
So for me, athletes are the best teammates on and off the court, for real.
amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Jared, so you've seen and experienced a lot through the years in the NBA. What are some of the common misconceptions people have about working or coaching in the NBA?
Can we curse in here? No.
I didn't get any like roles or
We
rules.
can't. Like I honestly think like people don't think we go through shit. You know what I mean? Like we're very much regular people. We just have a job that everybody gets to come to and they get to see it on TV. And obviously we get paid a king's ransom, but we play a kid's game. That's just the long and the short of it. So many times you got to put your arm around people, and you can have a number of things going on. And for me, transferable skills. Like I was a point guard, so my job was to communicate with everybody. But I might got a dude that's from West Side of Chicago. I got another guy from Italy. How do I get the message? And I might have to disseminate that two totally different ways. But in the midst of potentially approaching these people, I think about the list of things they could be going through if they're a bit laid back. And people are like, man, he's not into it. I'm like, yeah, him and his lady could have broke up. A regular thing. One of his close friends could have did something shady, stole from him. It was one dude, man, he was like, he used to give off the tough guy thing on the team. I found out he got his chain took. I'm being serious. I'm being serious. But that's why he was in a funk for like a week, right? I can be sensitive to the laundry list of things that might be going on that's specific to the individual. So for me, those are the things, and then trying to creatively talk to them, not at them. Because there's a lot of people that talk at you, they don't talk to you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And then put it in terms in which they can digest and they can understand.
Yeah, and just to even dive a little bit deeper into that, like you have guys who, again, are going through daily life, but it's under a microscope. Everybody sees everything, especially when it comes to social media, right? They show up to a restaurant, they're just trying to enjoy. I think I just saw Luka. Some random woman just like jumped in his lap and like hugged him after he was just trying to be polite. And it's hard to know what's being expected of you, right? But at the same time, just trying to hold on to whatever humanity you have left in you, and that is really difficult. So Janae, you are working with the Pistons, and you live and breathe your work. You guys, she lives and breathes it. One might say there isn't time to accomplish the milestones that you have. Being our current Miss Michigan, like why? And how did you decide this is something you wanted to pursue?
So I think if you play sports, you know you get the competitiveness, and it's something that never leaves you, even after you leave sports. And so I very much have that. But really, when I graduated college, 22 years old, work was my life. I was finally like, I'm free of school. All I can do is eat, breathe, live, work. And I did, and I loved it. And I was happy with that. But also in some self-reflecting, I also know that 20, 30, 40 years from now, I don't want to look back and go, gosh, the only thing I did in my 20s was work. I have the rest of my life to work.
Yes.
So being competitive, I wanted a hobby that I could compete in. And the Miss America organization, it's been around for over 100 years. It's the #1 provider of scholarships for women in the United States. And it is the reason I can sit here with almost all of my student loan debt wiped from Wayne State University from competing.
And we are happy for you.
Thank you. So that's how I got into it. And you can only go to Miss America once. You get one state title, whether you travel around to different states or whatever, but you get one shot and then you're done. There's a 10-year age gap, 18 to 28, and you only get that many times, and once you're done, you're done.
Yeah.
And so I knew I didn't want to waste that shot, so I'll compete in December. Miss Michigan, a new one, will be crowned in June. So if anybody has any ideas of my new hobby, I will be pageant retired after this year. Thank you. But yeah, I didn't grow up in this space. I'm just trying to make the most out of my life. I think as young people, we forget to slow down and enjoy our lives as we're hustling and running to the moon, taking the stars a little bit.
I love that. I love that. All right, so we've got time for one more question. And I think, there are a lot of people who would love to be inside of the sports realm, right? It's so hard to get into, but once you get in, it's like, it's this beautiful fraternity, sorority of people that are continuing to move our sport forward. So what practical advice would you give everybody here that's on a journey to wherever they're trying to go, that does not have the traditional mind or the traditional background to get to where they're going? Whoever would like to start.
I'll make it quick and just say, that's me. I went to school for nursing originally, changed up and switched to business school, but I'm the theater kid, I'm the artist, I'm Miss Michigan now. But I would say it's not about what you know, it's about what you bring to the table. I am no basketball professional, but I will learn, and I'll learn the sport as much as I can. I'll do whatever it takes. So be open, be easy to work with, be personable, get along with other people, and they'll want you as their teammate.
Yes, and the humble brag was so brilliant, wasn't it? It was like, yes, and I'm Miss Michigan. I love it. Jared.
I think all of it is mixed in, coupled with what she said, is add hard work to it. Be maniacal about it. Have a general curiosity. I said all those things about coaching, but there's no stats to let you know, like, if you're doing a good job or not, right? I never found out until one of the other coaches was like, yo, you doing your thing. And I'm like this, oh, word? I'm like, all right, whatever. But for me, I'm showing up at 7 a.m. if everybody else get there at 9. I don't have nothing to do. I'm going to go get a workout in. I'm going to go, okay, this guy gets here early. I'm going to do that. The big guys over there, they probably need a guard to help them out. I'll do that. And then you just keep slowly building, man. Make yourself able to audition for whatever role is available. It's a lot of people that want to audition for roles that aren't there. And not to say that you have to stay stuck in that or typecasted, but once you infuse yourself in that, and then now you slowly build, you take in your small wins, the next thing you know, man, you might be at the top of the mountain eventually.
Nice.
Yeah. I have these bracelets. You do too. I think they're from All Star last year. One says keep going. One says be strong. The laces on these shoes say work harder. And at the Pistons, we're going to do work. And I think that's what it all comes down to is you have to work for it. If you really want something, anything in life, whether it's to come into the sport industry, to be a footwear designer, to be an entrepreneur. You can check the boxes or you could do the work. So it is showing up at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. It is staying until 9 p.m. It is, people will look at your credentials on paper when they can find them, but when they see you as someone who can do the work, then you're truly unstoppable. So I'd say that, do work.
Do work. I love that. I would like to just add to that. So mine says empower women, and you got this. And I think one of the things that's really important is if you see a vision for yourself that maybe not anybody else believes in, that doesn't matter. As long as you believe in yourself, you show up, you do the work, you stay curious, because that's huge. Because your journey, like where you're trying to go, should never be, there should be no flexibility to what that looks like, but how you get there needs to be extremely flexible, and you have to be agile along the way. Give yourself grace. You will make mistakes. Mistakes are just a way of letting you know you are making progress, right? Do not be afraid to fail. Don't let it hold you back, and you're gonna find success. Keep doing the work, one foot in front of the other, and you're gonna make it. And so thank you so much for having us, and good luck with everything.